Om. Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Om Shri Saraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Om Samastajana Kalyane Niratang Karunamayam. Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram. Sadgurum Brahmavidvaram. Om Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Shrutismriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Pada Shankaram Lokashankaram. Namaste Shankarananda Guru Padambu Janmane Savila Samaha Moha Graha Grasaika Karmane. Hariyo. Yesterday we were seeing among the Advaitins, Advaita Acharyas, some of them say that Nirguna Brahma Upasana, meditation on attributeless Brahman, Upasana, worship, is not possible. That's what they take that stand. Vidyaranya Muni says Nirguna Brahma Upasana is possible. Both are Advaitins only. The group which raised objections, they all Advaitins only. They all agree in common. What? That whether it is Vidyaranya, whether it is the group of Advaitins who are opposing now to Vidyaranya thought, they both agree that Nirguna Brahma Jnanam is possible. Nirguna Brahma Jnanam, the knowledge of Brahman, is possible. That's one aspect. But what one group say is that Nirguna Brahma Upasana is not possible. But Vidyaranya Muni gives many reasons why it is possible. Now, how does he encounter this problem? What Vidyaranya Muni says is, like, he asks Purvapakshi, suppose, why are you saying that Nirguna Brahma Upasana is not possible? Vidyaranya asks the Advaitins who are opposing it. Opposing to what? Opposing Nirguna Brahma Upasana. The meditation on attributeless Brahman is objected by Advaitins, some group of Advaitins who say that Brahman cannot be meditated upon. The Nirguna Brahma. Saguna Brahma, you can do it. Brahman with attributes, you can meditate, but not on Nirguna Brahma. Now, how Vidyaranya Muni tackles them is, okay, what are the reasons that you object Nirguna Brahma Upasana? Vidyaranya Muni asks them, for example. So they give reasons. So Vidyaranya Muni doesn't put forth his arguments now. He says, why are you all rejecting Upasana on Nirguna Brahma? So they give reasons. So with those reasons only, Vidyaranya Muni answers if a reason number 1 is given because of which you say Nirguna Brahma Upasana is not possible, or then they will ask the Vijayamuni ask them also, why Nirguna Brahma Jnanam is possible? You let me know. He asked first. So Nirguna Brahma Jnanam, because of these reasons, it follows. Because of these reasons, Nirguna Brahma Upasana is not followed, cannot be accepted. Vijayamuni counteracts them and answers them that the reasons why you are giving, same reasons I can claim that it can be meditated upon. That's what the argument will go on. Now, so we have seen 55th verse. Nirguna Brahma Tattvasya nahi upaste rasambhavaha saguna brahmani iva atra pratyayavritti sambhavat. Now, what is a upasana? Pratyaya avritti, repetition of thought. So, because Nirguna Brahma is Gunarahitava, no attribute, so you cannot meditate upon it, you cannot think about it. Nirguna Brahma Jnanam is possible. Hope you are not confused. Nirguna Brahma Jnanam, the knowledge about Brahman you can gain, but you cannot meditate upon Brahman. Because with attribute, it's attributeless Brahman, or what can you meditate? So, Nirguna Brahma Tattvasya nahi upaste asambhavaha. And what is upasana? Repetition of thought. Now, what Vijayamuni says, in Saguna Brahma Upasana, meditation or worship of Brahman with attributes. What do you mean by Saguna Brahma Upasana? Repetition of thought. You contemplate, you repeat those thoughts. Thoughts of meditative thoughts. It becomes upasana. Just as you can repeat that there is pratyaya avritti, repetition of thoughts in Saguna Brahma Upasana. Similarly, in Nirguna Brahma also, you can have this kind of pratyaya avritti. This is the thing. You can also have how to contemplate, the further clarification will come. So Vijayamuni said it can be done. The more we go forward, more clarity we will get. Pratyaya Saguna Brahmani iva pratyaya avritti sambhavat. Just as in Saguna Brahma, there is a repetition of thought. Similarly, in Nirguna Brahma Upasana also, a thought repetition is possible. But when you say Nirguna, how can the thought project it and thought think about it? That's what we will go into see now. So the Apura Pakshi doesn't agree. Advaita group says this, how is it possible to contemplate, meditate on Nirguna Brahma? When you say Nirguna, it is attributeless. When how can there is no shape, size, shape, guna, quality, Vishesha Guna, Vishesha Kriya, Sambandha. Nothing is a Rama, Rupa, Guna, Vishesha Kriya, Sambandha. Kuch bhi nahi hai. How can you meditate on that? Friends, if you listen this topic, we get tremendous clarity again. So Vijayamuni continues. That objection continues, Vijayamuni answers. So we shall start 56th verse. Avang manasa gamyam tat nopasyamiti chet tada avang manasa gamyasya vedanam chana sambhavet. We'll see the first sloka meaning, then we can go into explanation part of it. Avang manasa gamyam tat Brahma. That Brahma cannot be reached through mind or speech. It is beyond the scope of mind and speech. Upanishad says very clearly, that which is beyond speech, that which is beyond mind, how can you talk about it, think about it? So that which is beyond the scope of mind and speech, it cannot be the theme of upasana. You cannot meditate, you cannot do upasana on that Brahma. This is what Purvapakshi raised. And what is the answer? Acharya Vidyaranya Muni says, Avang manasagamyasya vedanam chana sambhavet. Now if you say upasana on Brahma, which is Brahman, which is beyond the scope of speech and mind, is not possible according to you, then that which is beyond the scope of mind and speech also cannot be known. See, avang manasagamyasya vedanam chana sambhavet. If that is your says, nirguna brahma jnanam is also not possible. Think. Why he says? Because it is not an object. Brahman is not an object, Purvapakshi says. It is not an object. So it is not an object, therefore you can never do upasana on it. It is unthinkable, unmeditatable. That's what Purvapakshi said. Further, Vidyaranya says, if you say Nirguna Parabrahma Paramatma cannot be meditated upon, upasana cannot be done, because it is not an object of meditation. If it is an object of meditation, you can do. See, what is it we can meditate upon? Anything which is qualities, we can meditate. Anything which is name, shape, size, color, physical plane. Qualities, you can meditate on them. Neither it is beyond qualities and beyond physical properties and characteristics such as name, fame, etc. Name, complexion, height, shape, color, nothing. So, but Vidyaranya says, if you say Nirguna Brahma Upasana is not possible, I will say Nirguna Brahma also cannot be known. How can you know? Vedanam cha na sambhavet. Vedanam na cha sambhavet. Even knowing also is not possible. How can you know? So what is the meaning of knowing? Will come now. Very important topic it is. So what do you mean by knowing Brahman? That beautiful thoughts are there. So Vidyaranya says, not that Vidyaranya doesn't agree Brahman is not unknowable. He doesn't say that, because Upanishad says no Brahman. You can know Brahman. But the logic which was provided by Purvapakshi, a group of Advaitins, against Nirguna Brahma Upasana, same logic, Vidyaranya with the same logic is countering them and asking question again, if that Upasana is not possible because it is Brahman is beyond the scope of mind and speech, then that which is beyond the scope of mind and speech also cannot be known. It cannot be an object of knowledge. So Purvapakshi now has to establish, no, Nirguna Brahma Jnanam is possible. Okay, ball is in his court now. Vidyaranya asked him, if you say Nirguna Brahma Upasana not possible because it is beyond the scope of mind and speech, then I would say that which is beyond mind and speech also cannot be known. That means what? You have to accept Nirguna Brahma Jnanam also not possible. Think. But the Purvapakshi doesn't agree because they know that Brahma Jnanam is there. It is Brahma knowledge of Brahman is possible. Nirguna Brahma Jnanam is possible. Vidyaranya also knows that it is possible, but it is just using that kind of a counteracting questions to defeat them, their thinking. And he will ultimately prove, my dear, Nirguna Brahma Upasana is possible. That's a theme now. For the next so many slokas will come. So, 57th verse. I hope you are following the thought. Vagadya gocharakaram ityeyam yedi vetyaso Vagadya gocharakaram ityupasita no kutaha. Very good. Vag adi agocharakaram iti evam yedi vetti aso. Now, Purvapakshi says, now we are not talking about Upasana. He is established Nirguna Brahma Upasana is possible. But now the question is coming with related to Jnanam. Nirguna Brahma Jnanam is possible or not? He is asking that line. And then he'll prove, just as Nirguna Brahma Jnanam is possible, similarly Nirguna Brahma Upasana also is possible. Examples will come and so many things will come. We are now building the foundation for the argument, for the thought to develop, unfold. Okay? Now the Purvapakshi has to say. What does he say? What the Purvapakshi group of Advaita? What he has to say now? Bhaiya, I will not accept, he says, I will not accept Nirguna Brahma Upasana, but I will accept Nirguna Brahma Jnanam. Now he has to prove how Nirguna Brahma Jnanam, listen very carefully, how Nirguna Brahma Jnanam, the knowledge of attributeless Brahman is possible. Why? Attributeless Brahman is unknowable, unthinkable, cannot be thought, cannot be seen, touched, smelled, cannot be thought also. Thought also cannot go there. Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasa saha. My speech returned, mind returned without knowing the truth, Upanishad says. So now the Purvapakshi has to say, no, Nirguna Brahma Jnanam is possible, Nirguna Brahma Upasana is not possible. Now he has to prove how Nirguna Brahma Jnanam is possible, how the knowledge about attributeless Brahman is possible. Brahman all the while being beyond the scope of mind and speech. जो मन से भी, बुद्धि से भी, वाक से भी परे है, वो वस्तु जो जानने योग्य नहीं है, मन के द्वारा, वाणी के द्वारा भी असंभव है, उस वस्तु को वेद्य बनाकर कैसे उस ज्ञान का, उस ब्रह्म का ज्ञान आप प्राप्त कर सकते हो? यदि ब्रह्म का ज्ञान नहीं हो पा रहा है, नहीं हो पाता, तो उपनिषदों ने कहा गया कि ब्रह्म ज्ञान होगा। अभी पूर्व पक्षी का बारी है कि उसने उनको तय करना है, निश्चय करना, साबित करना है विद्यारण्य जी को कि नहीं भैया, निर्गुण ब्रह्म उपासना तो मैं मानता नहीं हूं, निर्गुण ब्रह्म ज्ञान इसका संभावना है। तो आप एक और कह रहे हो कि वो निर्गुण ब्रह्म मन से भी परे है, वाणी से भी परे है। तो जो मन से भी परे है, वाणी से भी परे है, उस ब्रह्म तत्व का ज्ञान हो सकता है, उसको जान सकते हैं। अभी पूर्व पक्षी की बारी है कि उनको उस वस्तु को कैसे जाना जाए। इसको निर्गुण ब्रह्म ज्ञान की प्राप्ति कैसे होगा? अब किसकी बारी है साबित करना? पूर्व पक्षी। क्योंकि विद्यार्थी ने कहा कि यदि उपासना संभव नहीं है, जो मन से भी वाणी से भी परे है, उस तत्व का उपासना संभव नहीं है, तो उस तत्व को उसका ज्ञान प्राप्त करना भी संभव नहीं है। क्योंकि जो मन से परे है, वाणी से परे है, उस तत्व का ग्रहण और ज्ञान कैसे कर पाओगे? तो यदि ये उपासना संभव नहीं है इस कारण के दौरान, तो मैं कहूंगा उसी कारण के दौरान निर्गुण ब्रह्म ज्ञान की प्राप्ति भी नहीं हो सकती। ठीक है, तो अभी विद्यारण्य शेष, तो पूर्व पक्षी साबित करना है ना अभी। नहीं नहीं, निर्गुण ब्रह्म ज्ञान कैसे संभव है? ना देखिए, यहाँ पे श्लोक में कहा गया वेरी क्लियरली, उस ब्रह्म को वी आर नॉट, पूर्व पक्षी सेज दैट ब्रह्मन cannot be known as an object of knowledge. A person knows Brahman not in the form of an object. पूर्व पक्षी से मैं ये नहीं कह रहा हूं कि वेद्य के रूप में ब्रह्म को जाना जा सकता है, ये मैं नहीं कह रहा हूं, मगर उसको ब्रह्म को ऐसे जाना जाएगा कि ब्रह्म एक कोई वेद्य वस्तु नहीं है। इस रूप से ब्रह्म का ज्ञान हो सकता है। Brahman is, I have got the knowledge, I can gain knowledge that Brahman is not an object of knowledge. So inverted commas, Brahman is not an object of knowledge, inverted commas. Inverted comma begin, Brahman is not an object of knowledge, inverted comma close. So ब्रह्म को जाना, कैसे जाना? इस रूप से जाना। इसका मतलब क्या है? It is possible to know Brahman as a non-object. It is not an object. I can know Brahman as what? Not as an object. I can know Brahman as what? It is not an object. इस रूप में ब्रह्म का ज्ञान संभव है। वो वेद्य वस्तु नहीं है, इस रूप में ब्रह्म का ज्ञान हुआ। अब वो वेद्य वस्तु नहीं है, इसका मतलब क्या है? That means what? ब्रह्म को यदि जानना है कि अहंत्वेना माने सब्जेक्ट के रूप में ब्रह्म को जाना जा सकता है। कैसे जाना जाएगा? कि अहम ब्रह्मास्मि, मैं ही वो ब्रह्म हूं, इस रूप में ब्रह्म को जाना जा सकता है। ब्रह्म को मुझसे अलग करके वेद्य वस्तु के रूप में जानना संभव नहीं है। So this is the answer given by the what do you call पूर्व पक्षी। वागादि अगोचर कारमित्येवं यदि वेत्ति असौ वागादि गोचर कारमिति उत्पासित न असौ वागादि का असौ वागादि अगोचरम कारम अगोचर कारम इति उपासित। So this is how you have to multiply, you have to contemplate that Brahman is beyond the mind and speech. इस रूप में ब्रह्म का ज्ञान हो सकता है। So Brahman is what? Not the object of an instrument of knowledge. What is instrument of knowledge? We have eyes, we have ear, we have sense indriyas. वाणी is there. So वाणी के द्वारा भी इस ब्रह्म को जानना संभव नहीं है। So इस रूप में ब्रह्म का ज्ञान किसी को भी हो सकता है। इसका मतलब क्या है? Brahman is very subject and not the object. So Brahman is not the object. इसका मतलब क्या बचा फिर बाकी? दो ही चीजें दुनिया में, एक सब्जेक्ट है, दूसरा ऑब्जेक्ट है। दृक दृश्य, Druk, drushya. Only two are there. Seer and the seen. Perceiver and the perceived. To be divided. So when I say Brahman cannot be known as an object, इसका मतलब क्या रह गया अभी? Brahman is known as the subject. When I say Brahman is not possible to know through mind and speech, it is cannot be objectified. इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? बाकी क्या क्या है? सब्जेक्ट ऑब्जेक्ट है, दोनों ही है, दो है उसमें. इट कैनॉट बी ऑब्जेक्टिफाइड, तो ऑब्जेक्ट हट गया, तो क्या रह गया? ब्रह्मन इज नोन एज व्हाट? सब्जेक्ट. Brahman is not known as an object, but Brahman is known as a subject, as the very I. पहले विद्यार्थी मुनि क्या कहा उनसे, पूर्व पक्षी से? इफ यू से निर्गुण ब्रह्म उपासना is not possible because Brahman is beyond the scope of speech and mind, then I would say Brahma Jnanam also is not possible, Nirguna Brahma Jnanam, because it is beyond the scope of speech and mind. Same logic applied. Then Purvapakshi said, no, 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 sir. No, no, no. Brahman can be known as what? That Brahman is beyond speech and mind. In this way, one can know Brahman. That means what? क्या रह गया? That it is not an object. Means what? It is the subject. Who subject? I. That is you all. Subject I. I can say I am the subject. What रह गया? Balance क्या रह गया? Which cannot be removed, which cannot be deleted. That's what Upanishad says, no? ये न त्यजसी तत्यज. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल अहंकार के द्वारा आपने जो त्याग दिया, उस अहंकार को भी त्यागो. तो त्यागने वाला कौन है यहाँ पे? अहंकार. तो उसको भी यदि त्यागा जाता है तो बचेगा क्या, रहेगा क्या? पारिशेष न्याय. अल्टीमेटली when everything is removed, what is left is you alone. So when Purvapakshi said, Bhaiya, Brahman can be known in this way, that Brahman is beyond the mind and speech. इस रूप में ब्रह्म को जाना, माने सब्जेक्ट के रूप में जाना जा सकता है. Then Vidyarmani says, wonderful. If you say you can know Brahman as a non-object, avedya vastu, not vedya vastu. Vedya means object of knowledge. Avedya, it is not an object of knowledge. Avedya vastu. If you come to know Brahman as a non-object, then you can also do upasana on Brahman as a non-object. Upasana can be done. That Brahman is agocharam, achintyam. Brahman is beyond the senses, beyond eyes. We can contemplate. Upasana also you can do same thing. That Brahman is beyond. Upasana you do Brahma, which cannot be known through it. This way Upasana you can do. Can repeat the thought and meditate on Upasana. Upasana you can do Brahma. So Nirguna Brahma Upasana also is possible. So non-object Upasana of Brahman is possible. Exactly like non-object Brahma Vidya, Brahma Jnana is possible. Nirguna Brahma Jnana, as it is possible, similarly, Nirguna Brahma Upasana also is possible. Now, Purvapakshi is not living. What does he say now? Sagunatvamupasyattvat yadi vedyatvato tat vedyam che lakshana vritya lakshitam samupasyatam. Sagunatvam upasyatvat. Purvapakshi says. Yeah, when you moment you bring upasana word, Brahman is losing its status of nirguna. The moment you say upasana, the nirguna Brahma became saguna. Think about it. The moment I said upasana, upasana means what? There is some kind of guna, meditation on gunas, attributes. Means nirguna Brahma became saguna. So sagunatvam upasyatvat. Yadi, because it is worshipped, then Brahman will become with attributes. If this is an objection, yadi means objection is raised. If this is an objection by Purvapakshi, vedyatvato tat. So if this is an objection, it holds good when it is known also. In the case of knowledge also, same thing. Vedyatvatah tat. The moment you try to contemplate on Nirguna Brahma, the Brahman becomes again Saguna then. In the case of Brahma Jnanam also, knowledge of Brahman also you gain. So, if the Purvapakshi says, if you say to Vidyanamani, if you say Nirguna Brahma Upasana can be done, if you say, Purvapakshi is telling to Vidyanamani, then it becomes a logical contradiction, no? Logical contradiction. Why? The moment you say Brahman is Upasana, meaning Brahman became Upasya Vastu. Upasya means that can be meditated upon. Once you would say Brahman is Upasya, can be meditated, so it can be the meditatability. Then the Upasya becomes status of, will become attribute of. Upasya is a guna. That Vedya Vastu, it can be worshipped, it can be thought. That becomes a guna of that Vastu. Attribute. It became an attribute. Upasyatva. Upasyatva will become an attribute. So once you say Upasyatvam is a guna, attribute of Brahman, and it is no more Nirguna Brahma. So Purvapakshi says, how can you say Nirguna Brahma Upasana is possible? Because the moment you say Brahman can be meditated upon, Brahma becomes Saguna. With an attribute can be meditated upon. Upasyatva is a attribute of Saguna Brahma. That means it is no more Nirguna Brahma. An example is like contradiction, hot ice cream is a contradiction. एक और निर्गुण भी कह रहे हो, दूसरे और उपासना भी कह रहे हो. It is like a hot ice cream contradiction. एक और कहते हो कि ब्रह्म निर्गुण है, दूसरे और कहते हो कि उसको उपास्य ना करो, उपास्य है. ये संभव नहीं है. Now, Vijayamuni says, Once you say that Brahman is Brahma Jnanam is possible, nobility of Brahman, that also becomes an attribute. Nobility also becomes an attribute. Then it is also no more of Nirguna Brahma. Upasana, you give your logic. The moment Upasana, Upasya Murti, it becomes Brahman, will become Upasya, object of meditation. It is no more Nirguna Brahma. It becomes Saguna Brahma only. But similarly, Jnanam also, no? So Nirguna Brahma also will have same logical contradiction. The moment you say Nirguna Brahma Jnanam, Nirguna Brahma becomes knowable, can be known. Once you say Nirguna Brahma is Vedya Vastu, nobility is there, that will become an attribute of Nirguna Brahma. Nobility becomes an attribute of Nirguna Brahma. The moment it becomes attribute, it is no more Nirguna. I hope you are following it. But Vijayamana is arguing like that. So Vijayamana says, just as you are objecting to Nirguna Brahma Upasana because it is Upasana, then you make Upasya Murti object of knowledge, object of meditation. The moment becomes object of meditation, it becomes no more Nirguna, it becomes Saguna with attributes. Similarly, the moment you are calling Brahman as can be known, thinkable, knowable entity, the Brahman, that means it is not falling in the purview of Nirguna, it becomes Saguna. Same argument handed over to Purvapakshi. No, Purvapakshi comes with another argument. What is that he says? No, next line. He says, Vedyam chet lakshanavritya lakshitam saubhasata. Lakshanavritya Vedyam chet. Brahman can be known through lakshanavritti, implied meaning. I am not saying Brahman is known directly, but implied meaning. That's what he says next. So what is the Purvapakshi problem, Advaitin, group of Advaitins problem? They say Upasana, Brahma, Nirguna Upasana, we don't accept. We accept only Nirguna Brahma Jnanam is possible. So they heard Vijayamana's answer. Even in the case of Brahma Jnanam also, same thing happens. Knowledge of Brahman. The moment you say Brahman is noble, it is no more Nirguna, it becomes Saguna. So they heard Vijayamana reply. Now, very important point. Now, Vedyatvam, knowability can be known. Knowability is an attribute, no? Attribute of the Brahman, knowability, actually. So they say, knowability is an attribute, but it is a temporary attribute. Purvapakshi says, it is not a permanent, real attribute. It is only a temporary, superimposed for the sake of teaching purposes. Brahman can be known. How can the Brahman be known? No, that knowingness, knowability is superimposed on Brahman temporarily. So, through that attribute, superimposed attribute, not real attribute, superimposed attribute, that Brahman can be known, superimposed. And an attribute, guna, that can be Vedya Vastu, it becomes Vedya. And they say, Purvapakshi says, with that superimposed attribute guna on Brahman, you know Brahman. After knowing Brahman, you drop the attribute. The guna is dropped after knowing Brahman. See, I start my journey that Brahman can be known. Now, where do I end up not normal in this journey? I started my journey to know Brahman. So many, क्या बोलते हैं, paraphernalia is there, teachers are there, everything is there. It can be known. Brahman can be known. It's a temporary attribute. After knowing the Brahman, this attribute which is superimposed is dropped off. So I begin with journey, Brahman can be known, right? Brahman can be known. In my effort to know Brahman, where will I land up? I land up in I, as Aham. Now tell me, with respect to yourself, your own self, you know that you exist. You know that you are. So can you yourself become object of knowledge for yourself? You yourself, is it possible to become an object of knowledge for yourself? Though I say I know myself, where there the knower and the known are not too different, no? I think you're getting it. So therefore, this is a Vedyatva is superimposed. I start my journey, Brahman can be known. When I know Brahman, it is not outside, no. It ends up as I, subject I. When subject I, and as I said just now, can I know, can I become the object of knowledge for myself? No. Like in mirror. So we use the mirror only to know myself, no? So, see, I see the image of my mirror, but ज्ञान किसका हो रहा है? मेरा हो रहा है. Image का ज्ञान नहीं हो रहा है ना. दर्पण में, दर्पण के सामने मैं खड़ा हूं और दर्पण के अंदर मेरा जो प्रतिबिंब जो पड़ता है, उस प्रतिबिंब को मैं देख रहा हूं. अब बताओ, उस प्रतिबिंब को देखते समय किसका ज्ञान हो रहा है मुझे? वो ज्ञान प्रतिबिंब का, वेद्य वस्तु, ज्ञेय वस्तु, नोबिलिटी, प्रतिबिंब का ज्ञान हो रहा है, या प्रतिबिंब को देखते समय ज्ञान मुझ में मेरा अपना हो रहा है? ज्ञान मेरा होता है. तो अभी मिरर रखा, then I for temporarily at that image became known through image. That image, reflected image, has become temporarily an attribute, a known attribute. It can be known. Similarly, Vedya Brahman is Vedya, possible to know. This is an attribute, superimposed, temporarily. After I realize that Brahman is not there anywhere, it is me alone, this Vedyatva, the knowability, is dropped. So after once I know Brahman, Brahman is knowable, that in that kind of a guna is dropped. It is no more outside to know, no. See, every other vastu is knowable. Computer is knowable, book is knowable, table is knowable, chair is knowable. Other than me. Think about it. So I drop the attribute. Knowability attribute is dropped. Then what remains is subject I. As Brahman is realized as what? As I. No more object. That's what Purupakshi, that is Advaitin, say to Vidyaranya Muni. So Nirguna Brahma Jnanam is possible, sir. So don't tell us the Brahman cannot be known. In that sense, nobility is only a temporary attribute. We superimpose, but we drop it. Vidyaranya Muni says, if that is the case, same thing holds good for Nirguna Brahma Upasana also. Similarly, Vidyaranya Muni says, if it is a false attribute, Brahma can be known. Knowability is a false attribute of Brahman. It is not real attribute. Not a guna. It is only superimposed guna to know Brahman. So, if the lakshitam, what is that? Vedyam chet lakshanavritya, lakshitam samupasitam. Similarly, upasana also can be done as an implied way, as a lakshitam. So, is a false attribute superimposed on Brahman, Nirguna Brahman, to know, get the knowledge of Brahman as I, realize as I. Similarly, upasana also is possible. If false attribute is there, upasana also, upasyatva is a false attribute only. Upasyatva can be worshipped, can be meditated upon. Vedya vastu, object of knowledge. Upasya, object of meditation, object of worship. So, Brahman ke Nirguna Brahma Upasana, that Upasya, Upasyatvam, object of, can be object of meditation, is a guna, attribute, temporarily superimposed. So, in the case of Brahma Jnana, Nirguna Brahma Jnanam is possible by superimposing a temporary attribute called Vedyatva as knowability. Similarly, Upasyatva, meditatability, is also a guna superimposed on Brahman for some time. Nirguna Brahman. Upasana can be done. So you attribute something, meditate upon Nirguna Brahman. So if false nobility is possible, in nobility, false Jnaya, Vedyatva is a false, that is possible. In knowledge, Brahma Jnanam, Nirguna Brahma Jnanam, then false mediability is also possible in Nirguna Brahma Upasana. So this is how Vidyaranya Muni is counteracting the objections of Purupakshi. So कहने का मतलब क्या है कि निर्गुण ब्रह्म उपासना is possible. See, that which is Brahman is beyond mind and speech. I came to know about Brahman like this. Then I repeat that thought. It becomes Upasana on Nirguna Brahma. But Purupakshi is not leaving, sir. Purupakshi is not leaving. He quotes Upanishad. Upanishad outrightly rejects Upasana. It never says Brahman can be meditated upon. It says what? Brahma viddita devatvam natvidam yadupasate iti srute rupasyatvam nishiddhim brahmano yadi. Brahma viddhi tadevatvam. Know that to be Brahman. Tadevat Brahma viddhi. Know Brahman that to be. Know that to be Brahman. Come, you know. And not the one which is worshipped here. Natu idam yad upasate. That which is being worshipped is not Brahman. So what is Brahman? That is Brahman which is not upasana, which is not worshipped here. Objectively, it is not worshipped. That which is not objectively worshipped is Brahman. Natu idam yad upasate. It is Srutehe upasyatvam nishiddhim brahmano yadi. No, Purvapakshi says, but I am saying now. This is quoting the Upanishad. Upanishad outrightly rejected Brahma upasyatvam. Brahman can be meditated upon. Upasana of Brahman is negated by Shruti Mata. Keno Upanishad says. Because the logic which was given to Purvapakshi was confused. Okay, don't talk to me anything logic now. I am giving you direct quotation from Keno Upanishad, where Brahman cannot be meditated upon, cannot be worshipped. Know that Brahman, know that to be Brahman, that which is not worshipped here, objectively here. So whatever you objectively meditate, that is not Brahman. Brahman cannot be meditated upon. Brahma Jnanam is Nirguna Brahma Jnanam is possible. Know that to be Brahman. Not which upasana you are doing here. So Keno Upanishad is quoted here. Keno Upanishad. What says Keno Upanishad says? Yan manasana manute ena hurmano matam tadeva brahmatvam vidhi nedam yadidam upasate. Same sloka is. So tadeva brahmatvam vidhi. Tadeva means Brahman is not a vedya vastu. It is not an object. So Brahman to be known as a non-object. You can know Brahman. I'm telling it's a contradictory, no? Knowing Brahman as what? Non-object. Meaning cannot be known. So know Brahman that it cannot be known objectively. Then what is remaining now? Object is removed, subject is only Brahman. What is subject is called non-object. So whatever you meditate, Upanishad says, upon is not Nirguna Brahma. So Upanishad clearly negated Upasana. That means what? Nirguna Brahma Upasana cannot exist. Purvapakshi says, quoting Upanishad. So it's a big lie that you are talking about the Nirguna Brahma Upasana is possible. So Purvapakshi says, Shruti Mata is negating Nirguna Brahma Upasana. Why are you holding on to Nirguna Brahma Upasana? Upanishad says, Nedam idudam upasate, not that which is worshipped here. Think. So Vijayamuni says, that is the case. Upanishads also declared that Brahman cannot be known also. You quote Upanishad, I quote another Upanishad. Where Upanishad very clearly says, Brahman is beyond all this. Known and the unknown. Brahman is beyond the known and other than the unknown. Upanishad only says. So Vijayamuni quotes that. Vidita danya deveti truter vedyatvamasya yatha strutyaiva vedyam tat tatha strutyapyupasyatam. Viditat anyadeva iti trutehe vedyatvamasya. Now Vijayamuni answering. So Keno Upanishad is negating vedyatvam of Brahmavastu. Vidita means known. Viditat anyaha, other than the known. It is other than the known. So whatever you know is not Brahman. Simply said, Brahman cannot be known. Who said? Shruti Mata. So Vedyatvam, that knowability also denied by the Upanishad there. यथा श्रुत्या एव वेद्यम तथा तथा श्रुत्या उपास्यता. Now, so first one line will say first. So two Purapakshis are there, two Siddhantas are mentioned. First line, half bit Purapakshi, half bit answer. So first one is the answer. Viditad Anyadeva Sute Vijjatmasana is an answer for the previous question. Because previous loka, what did this man says that Upanishad says Brahman cannot be worshipped. Neidam ididam upasate. Brahman, which is that which is worshipped here, is not Brahman. It is said that. So Vijayaraman says, okay, he has answered it. What is that answer? He says, when you say Upasana is denied by Upanishad, Upanishad also denied Jnanam also. Brahma Jnanam, the Nirguna Brahma Jnanam also is not possible. Same Upanishad, another statement. So whatever you know is not Brahman. Because the moment you know Brahman, Brahman becomes known. And Shruti says what? Whatever is known is not Brahman. Therefore, Brahman cannot be known. Therefore, Aham Brahma Veda, I know Brahman, is a wrong statement. I cannot know Brahman. It is not an object of knowledge. Aham Brahmasmi, that is correct. I am not knowing Brahman. I am declaring that I am Brahman. So Shruti Vakya negates Brahma Jnanam and Brahma Upasana also. Vijayaraman says. Upasana negate. See, he is Vijayaraman telling to other the Purapakshi. You have quoted a mantra from Kenopanishad saying that Brahma Upanishad denied, negated Brahma Upasana, Nirguna Brahma Upasana. Same Upanishad I am quoting and again saying elsewhere that even the Nirguna Brahma Jnanam also is negated. Whatever you know, it is not Brahman. Upanishad said. Because whatever it says, what does it says? Na tatra chakshur gacchati, na vak gacchati, no manaha, na vidmaha, na vijanimo, yatha etad anushishyad, anya deva tad vidita tatho, avidita avidita tadhi, iti shushrama purvesham, enas tadva chakshare. This is mantra from Kenopanishad. I am not going into the mantra. See, he quoted the same. Yatha etad anushishyad anyad eva tad viditat atho aviditat adhi. Gurudev say, other than the known, beyond the unknown. What is other than the known? Unknown. So unknown is Brahman? No. Teacher says beyond the unknown. So, therefore, Upanishad says neither this nor that. And what did you say earlier? That nobility is superimposed on Brahman, Nirguna Brahma, temporarily. After knowing Brahman as Aham, as I, the nobility gets dropped. It's a temporary attribute superimposed. So Vijayaraman says, Upasana also comes under same category. There also, Upasyatva is only temporary attribute. Once the Upasana purpose is served, the attribute also gets dropped. This we will take up in next series of our talks. Please remember, if possible, listen to this talk again. When we announce the dates, you try to listen to this again and come to the class so that continuity can be maintained. I cannot repeat whole thing, though I maintain 2-3 sentences. So better you all listen to this again and come to the next class whenever we announce the class dates. Okay? Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरि ओम। श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरि ओम। सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। थैंक यू ऑल। हरि ओम।